The strongest version of Thanos is King Thanos, the Thanos who goes far beyond the one who snapped half the universe, because this version isn't trying to balance life anymore. He's trying to erase the idea of limits altogether. In Thanos, he's already crossed every line of power. Hulk, a creature built to break anything in front of him, is reduced to a pet. Galactus arrives and collapses from a single blow. The Celestials fall soon after. Even beings who usually sit above entire realities just stop existing in his shadow. No other Thanos reaches this level. Not the tactician, not the philosopher with the gauntlet, not the version who talked about mercy while destroying half of everything. This is Thanos with every barrier removed, strength growing faster than the universe can respond. And once he reaches that height, the universe goes quiet. Not peaceful, quiet like a city after everyone has moved away. No heroes assembling, no cosmic forces watching, just space that looks full but feels abandoned. In that emptiness, something very human surfaces. King Thanos wins every battle and loses the meaning of winning. It's the shape of something we recognize in real life. Someone spends years climbing, outrunning every rival, and then discovers the summit doesn't answer why they were climbing. The world doesn't feel bigger, it feels smaller. King Thanos is what happens when achievement outruns intention. When you remove every rival and every voice that pushes back, you don't create harmony, you strip away the resistance that gave your ambitious meaning. A universe governed by logic alone doesn't become efficient, it becomes unlivable. King Thanos breaks every opponent, breaks the ladder he used to climb, and outlives the scale he fought to dominate, only to learn power can't generate purpose. Thanos shows what it looks like to reach the top and realize the top is a room with no doors. Loki chooses something different. He stops playing inside the story and starts rewriting the story itself. The most powerful version of Loki isn't the trickster with illusions or the prince trying to outrun his own reputation. It's Necrogod Loki, a Loki who stops fighting heroes and starts fighting the structure, deciding what heroes and villains are even allowed to be. In Loki, Agent of Asgard, he learns that every victory, every failure, every attempt to change himself has been shaped by a story written before he takes a step. He isn't losing because he's weak, he's losing because the universe keeps casting him as the character who fails. And Loki refuses to live inside a role someone else wrote for him. So he becomes a god who can see the narrative beneath reality. Timelines open for him like pages. Fate turns into handwriting. Cause and effect become sentences he can cross out. With that vision, Loki stops manipulating people and starts manipulating the story they exist inside. He steals power from beings who live outside the main timeline, including those who know fear, a creature born from a reality that shouldn't exist. He absorbs magic left behind in collapsed futures. He moves through erased histories like they're rooms. Most gods change what happens. Necrogod Loki changes what can happen. No other version of Loki in comics, myth, or film operates at this level of authorship. But the higher he climbs, the more the universe reveals a limit he can't rewrite. Because when you start editing a story, you eventually reach the part that refuses to change. Loki can tilt destiny, redirect timelines, pull characters back from endings, but there's still a structure above his edits, an author behind the authors. For someone who wants freedom more than victory, that truth hits harder than any battle. It echoes something painfully familiar. You can move cities, change jobs, change relationships, and still feel pulled back into the same role. The responsible one, the difficult one, the quiet one, as if the story remembers you even when you don't want to remember it. Necrogod Loki embodies that struggle. Reinvent yourself completely, and the world may still read you as the version it learned first. This is Loki at his most powerful and his most trapped. Where King Thanos shows what happens when power outruns purpose, Loki shows what happens when identity outruns freedom. And if one god tries to survive the end of the universe, and another tries to escape the narrative controlling it, the next character faces something even stranger, a universe already dying and a version of themselves that refuses to die with it. Entropy Hulk. The most powerful version of the Hulk isn't the angry one, or the unstoppable one, or even the immortal one. It's Entropy Hulk, a Hulk who doesn't just survive destruction, he survives the death of the universe itself. In The Incredible Hulk: The End, time has drifted so far forward that everything familiar has collapsed. Stars burn out, galaxies unravel, every species disappears under the slow weight of exhaustion. Earth is finished, a silent world with nothing left to save. And Hulk is still here, not because he fought harder, because nothing can end him. Radiation fails, cosmic storms fade, even the collapse of space around him can't break his body. Every other form of life has surrendered. Hulk continues because survival is the one thing he can't turn off. This is the same Hulk who once tore tanks apart and traded blows with gods, now walking through a planet that doesn't remember life at all. He moves across a dead earth where oceans are dust and ruins crumble at a touch. No enemy to face, no ally to save, no anger left to burn through, just motion, the instinct he can't escape. A fragment of Rick Jones appears from what's left of Bruce Banner's mind, trying to give him hope or purpose. But Hulk is past hope, past rage, past anything human. He's a creature built to endure in a universe that no longer needs endurance. Here his strength becomes the cruelest version of power. Hulk didn't win the end of the universe. He outlasted it. And when survival stops being a choice, it stops feeling like strength and starts feeling like punishment. It mirrors something human, the parts of us that keep moving long after the reason has gone. Habits, anger, momentum that doesn't know how to stop, even when stopping is exactly what we want. Entropy Hulk is the strongest Hulk ever shown because every other Hulk eventually meets a limit, a foe, a weakness, a reset. This version doesn't. Time can't finish him, death can't claim him, meaning vanishes long before he does. Where King Thanos found emptiness at the top and Loki found limits above the story, Hulk becomes the last motion in a universe that has already gone still, a being too strong to die, even when dying is the only thing that makes sense. And if one character outlives the universe, the next doesn't wait for the universe to end at all. He's chosen by something cosmic to help hold it together. Cosmic Spider-Man. The most powerful version of Spider-Man isn't the one dodging bullets, lifting cars, or swinging past Manhattan rooftops. It's Cosmic Spider-Man, the Peter Parker who doesn't just protect a neighborhood, he becomes strong enough to steady reality itself. In The Amazing Spider-Man number 326 through 329, Peter bonds with the Enigma Force, a cosmic power that almost never chooses a human host. The moment it reaches him, everything about Spider-Man changes scale. He no longer relies on momentum or muscle. He flies through space like it's a side street. He reads energy across the planet the way he once read danger on a single block. His senses widen until every heartbeat on Earth feels close. This is the same Peter Parker who used to hold back every punch so he wouldn't kill someone. Now he could crack a mountain with a mistake. The feats turn unreal. He stops a global chain reaction by absorbing the energy into himself. He stabilizes a collapsing city at the molecular level. He seals a wound in reality by focusing, not with magic, but with conviction. Most heroes gain strength. Cosmic Spider-Man gains reach, the ability to act on scales no human mind was meant to hold. But the most extraordinary part isn't what he can do, it's what he refuses to become. Peter doesn't lose himself inside that cosmic flood. He still checks for bystanders. He still talks softly to frighten civilians. The Enigma Force gives him access to infinite possibilities, and he uses them with the restraint of someone who remembers how fragile life felt before he had any powers at all. It reflects something deeply human. Power doesn't change character, it concentrates it. It magnifies what you already were. Where Thanos drowned in the loneliness of ultimate dominance, Loki hit the ceiling of the story, and Hulk endured beyond meaning. Peter becomes the only character whose power doesn't consume him, it clarifies him. Cosmic Spider-Man is what happens when unimaginable force lands in the hands of someone defined not by ambition, but by responsibility. And if a human can wield cosmic power without losing himself, the next character takes the opposite path. He gives up everything, identity, godhood, even life, to become something beyond fate itself. The most powerful version of Thor isn't the one swinging Mjolnir, or the king ruling Asgard, or even the Thor who drove Stormbreaker into Thanos' chest. It's Rune King Thor, the Thor who stops being a piece on the board and starts understanding the board itself. In Thor number 80 through 85, he discovers that Ragnarok, Asgard's endless cycle of death and rebirth, isn't noble destiny, it's a harvest. The gods fight, die, and return so higher beings, called those who sit above in shadow, can feed on the cycle and reset it forever. The entire mythology is a farm, and Thor refuses to stay livestock. He follows the path Odin once took, but pushes it further. Odin hung himself on the world tree seeking wisdom. Thor hangs himself on the world tree knowing it will cost him everything. He gives up his eye, his life, and his place among the gods, not to gain more power, but to learn how the system really works. What he perceives isn't a new weapon, it's awareness, the ability to see the pattern underneath existence, not just storms or magic or realms, the mechanism that keeps the gods trapped in the same story. With the runes burned into his understanding, Thor stops being another character in Ragnarok and becomes the one god who can reach its authors. When he confronts those who sit above in shadow, he doesn't challenge them to battle or overpower them with lightning, he simply cuts their influence off, erasing the beings who had been feeding on divine lives for ages. Most gods fight enemies. Rune King Thor ends the system that creates his enemies. No other version of Thor, not the All-Father, not the cosmic Thor who breaks worlds, reaches this point. This is the most powerful Thor Marvel has ever shown. Rune King Thor doesn't just command power, he commands context. But what makes him unforgettable isn't that he wins, it's what he does after winning. Once the cycle is broken, there's no Ragnarok left to fulfill, no prophecy left to lean on, no throne left that means what it used to. Thor becomes a god with nothing above him and nothing scripted ahead of him, the moment where most beings would cling to their power harder than ever. Instead, he lets it go. He walks away from the knowledge he died to gain, the power that sets him free, and the role that defined him for centuries. Rune King Thor is what it looks like when someone outgrows the structure they were born into so completely that it can't tell them who they are anymore. Where Thanos collapsed under victory, Loki found a ceiling above the story, Hulk survived after meaning was gone, and Spider-Man held godhood without losing himself. Thor becomes the one who ends the loop that contained him, and then chooses a life beyond the power that made that possible. And if a god can erase the script written for him and still walk away, the next character doesn't walk away from anything. He takes the script, the stage, and the whole multiverse and rewires all of it in his own image. The most powerful version of Doctor Doom isn't the dictator of Latveria, or the sorcerer who challenges Strange, or the villain obsessed with the Fantastic Four. It's God Emperor Doom, the Doom who stops competing with the world and starts replacing it. During Secret Wars, the multiverse doesn't just crack, it dies. Universes collide and fold in on themselves until reality turns to ash. Every hero fails, every plan breaks. Even Reed Richards, the man Doom has spent his life competing with, can't stop the collapse. But Doom notices something everyone else misses. The destruction isn't random. It's orchestrated by the Beyonders, beings so far above existence they treat universes like disposal experiments. Doom decides that if the gods are taking everything, he'll take something back. He hunts them, he outthinks them, he steals their power not by accident but by design. Doom doesn't just survive the end of the multiverse, he claims the force that ended it. Then he does something even more shocking. He builds a new reality. Doom pulls fragments of dead universes together and shapes them into Battleworld, a patchwork planet where he controls physics, history, borders, life, and death. People who died return. People who lived forget. Kingdoms rise or fall depending on what Doom thinks the world should look like that day. White armor on a throne built from a universe he redesigned, Doom becomes the one thing everyone can agree on. God. He doesn't need armies or spells. A thought from him is the difference between existence and erasure. He collapses Thanos with a single judgment. He ends Cyclops with a gesture. He reshapes identities with the same ease others adjust memories. But the power isn't the terrifying part. The terrifying part is why he wanted it. Because even after creating a world where he decides what's real, Doom is still chasing one thing he's never been able to conquer: the idea of Reed Richards. Every kingdom on Battleworld is stable except the one inside Doom himself, the part that measures his worth against the man he could never surpass. Doom has absolute power, but not the ability to stop comparing his godhood to someone else's humanity. He can rewrite the architecture of the universe, but not the architecture of his insecurity. It's a painfully human flaw, the belief that if we achieve enough, build enough, win enough, the voice inside that doubts us will finally quiet. But it never does. When Reed finally confronts him, not with strength, but with truth, Doom does something no one expects from a man who remade reality. He admits it. In that moment, the man who stole the power of gods lets the universe slip out of his hands, not because Reed defeated him, but because Doom realizes he never defeated the part of himself he was running from. God Emperor Doom shows what happens when someone reaches omnipotence without ever resolving the insecurity that drove them there. He builds a universe he can finally control, and discovers control isn't the same as peace. Where Rune King Thor outgrew the system and walked away, Doom seizes the system, rewrites it, and learns it still can't fix him. And if a god forged from darkness can't outrun the shadows inside himself, the next character doesn't run from darkness at all. He becomes light itself, and commands every symbiote in existence. The most powerful version of Venom isn't the street-level anti-hero, the monster fighting Spider-Man, or even the cosmic warrior bonded to Flash Thompson. It's God of Light Venom, the Eddie Brock who doesn't just wear a symbiote, he becomes the guiding force behind every symbiote that has ever existed. In King in Black #5, the universe faces an ancient darkness, Canal, creator of the symbiotes, commanding an army of living shadows. Cities fall silent under symbiote dragons. Heroes are overwhelmed. Even gods lose ground. For a moment, it looks like the entire Marvel universe has been swallowed. And Eddie Brock, a man who once struggled with rent, anger, addiction, and purpose, is suddenly carrying the last spark of resistance. Then something impossible happens. The Enigma Force, the same cosmic power that once chose Peter Parker, chooses Eddie. Light answers darkness, and Venom becomes its vessel. In an instant, Eddie isn't fighting the symbiotes, he's leading them. He cuts Null's link to the Hive, and seizes command of the entire symbiote network. Every symbiote across space, time, and alternate realities. For the first time since the dawn of their species, the hive mind belongs to someone who doesn't want domination, he wants freedom. With that unity behind him, Eddie confronts Null not as a host, but as an equal. He tears through the god of darkness with the strength of billions, rips the dragons apart, and lifts Null into the sky, ending him in a flash that feels like the universe exhaling. But the power doesn't stop at victory. Once Knell dies, the hive mind doesn't dissolve. It shifts, and Eddie becomes the new King in Black, defined not by darkness, but by light. Eddie doesn't use his godhood to conquer. He uses it to free everyone bound to the hive. He turns symbiotes, creatures once born from fear, into guardians. He reshapes the hive into what he needed his whole life but rarely felt: connection instead of isolation. But cosmic power has a cost. As Eddie's awareness spreads through the hive, he starts to lose the edges of himself. He sees through symbiote eyes across galaxies. He experiences time in every direction. He feels billions of consciousnesses brushing against his own. The more he becomes a god, the less he remembers how to be Eddie Brock. There's something painfully human in that. Sometimes the roles we finally grow into pull us away from the people we once were. Sometimes reaching our highest potential means risking our identity in the process. God of Light Venom is the most powerful venom ever shown, not because he destroys darkness, but because he transforms the very thing that defined it. He becomes proof that strength isn't just the ability to crush something hostile, it's the ability to rewrite what it means. Where God Emperor Doom remade reality and still couldn't fix himself, Eddie Brock rewrites the story of an entire species and nearly uses himself to do it. Taken together, all these characters show the same truth. Ultimate power doesn't really reveal who you become, it reveals what you refuse to let go of. If you want to see how DC takes this idea even further, we broke down their most extreme versions too. Tap the DC video next if you want to see what happens when their heroes and villains stop being human and start becoming myths.